Welcome to We Are False, where we explore the stories that go against the grain, challenging what you think you know. Today, we're digging into a tradition that feels so ancient, so permanent, you've probably never even questioned it.
You know the scene, right? You've seen it in a million movies. Someone gets down on one knee, opens that little box, and reveals a sparkling diamond. It just feels timeless, the ultimate sign of a love that's meant to last forever.
But what if I told you that whole ritual, that powerful symbol that we all recognize, wasn't born from some ancient custom? What if it was actually dreamed up in an office as part of a marketing brief? Yeah, the diamond engagement ring is, get this, one of the most successful ad campaigns in history.
So, this idea that a diamond is the timeless way to propose? That's exactly what the advertisers wanted us all to believe. But if you look at the actual data, well, it tells a very, very different story. The numbers here are pretty shocking. Before World War II, only about 10% of engagement rings in the US had a diamond on them. Just 10%. Fast forward to the end of the century, and that number shoots up to 80%. 80. That's not a tradition slowly evolving. That's a massive, sudden shift. So, what happened? Well, it all started with what you could call a diamond problem. Back in the late 1800s, huge diamond mines were discovered in South Africa. All of a sudden, the market was flooded with them. The big issue for the mine owners wasn't that diamonds were rare, it was that they weren't rare at all. To stop the prices from totally crashing, a single company, De Beers, created a global cartel. I mean, they controlled nearly 90% of the world's diamonds. This meant they could just stockpile them and release them slowly, creating this powerful illusion that diamonds were incredibly rare and keeping the prices sky high. But then, boom, the Great Depression hits in the 1930s. Nobody's buying luxury items. De Beers is now sitting on a literal mountain of diamonds that nobody wants. It's a total crisis for them. So in 1938, they hire an ad agency, NWIR, with a huge challenge: figure out how to make people buy diamonds again. The ad agency knew right away they couldn't just sell a rock. That wasn't going to work. No, they had to sell something bigger. They had to sell an idea, an emotion. Their goal became to permanently weld the idea of a diamond to the one thing every person on the planet wants: everlasting love. And the perfect tool for that job came in 1947 from a young copywriter named Frances Goretti. She apparently jotted down a line late one night, almost as an afterthought: a diamond is forever. It was absolutely brilliant. It perfectly connects the fact that a diamond is physically hard to destroy with the emotional promise of a love that will never end. Okay, so with that killer slogan, De Beers launched this massive cultural attack on three fronts. First, Hollywood. They started giving diamonds to movie stars to wear in films and at events, making them look like the absolute peak of glamour. Second, they basically created fake news, planting stories in newspapers all about celebrity engagements, always mentioning the size of the diamond. And third, this one's wild, they sent people into high schools to give lectures to young girls, teaching them that a diamond wasn't just a ring, it was the essential symbol of true love. But this might be the most audacious part of the whole plan. They just made up a rule for how much you're supposed to spend. In the 40s, their ads suggested that a man should spend about 1 month's salary. By the 80s, when people had more money, they just moved the goalposts and started pushing the 2-month salary rule. They had taglines that were basically like, hey, you want your love to last forever? 2 months' salary should do it. Just incredible. And for decades, this story they built worked perfectly. It was almost flawless. But as we got into the modern era, that shiny forever story started to get some pretty serious cracks. Really, two major things came along and shattered the illusion. First, the blood diamond crisis in the 90s. It exposes horrifying reality that so many diamonds were being mined in war zones to fund terrible conflicts. Suddenly, the symbol of pure love was tainted with violence. And second, technology came up with an alternative that completely undermines the entire De Beers myth. And that alternative is lab-grown diamonds. See, these are physically, chemically, and visually identical to mined diamonds. An expert can't tell the difference just by looking. But, and this is a huge but, they are guaranteed to be conflict-free, and they cost a whole lot less. This one invention just completely tears down the two pillars of the entire campaign, the ideas of rarity and purity. So because of all this, the spell is finally breaking. A whole new generation of couples is way more informed, and they're questioning these old, made-up rules. They're realizing they have a choice, and they're starting to take back the story for themselves. You see it all the time now. People are choosing things that actually reflect their own values, not some ad campaign from their grandparents' generation. They're going for things like moissanite, which is this super brilliant lab-created gem, or colorful stones like sapphires, or even cool vintage rings that have a real story behind them, not one invented by a marketing team. At the end of the day, the diamond engagement ring was never really a timeless tradition. It's just proof of how powerful a really, really good story can be. De Beers sold the world a very specific picture of what forever is supposed to look like. But now, that choice is back in our hands. So the question is, what story are you going to choose to tell?